All right. Is that better? Okay, it is 6 o'clock. Welcome to everybody. We never have a full room. This is it's kind of excited. Welcome to the EVIT board meeting for January 27th. We will start off, this is our call to order. We will do a Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Dr. Metcalf.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, we get to start with the exciting part, which is number 3, presentations and recognitions. Dr. Wilson.
Madam President, members of the governing board, this truly is the exciting part, not minimizing the rest of the agenda, but truly this is the exciting part. And we talk all the time as an organization about how we do things purposefully to change the lives of our students. But oftentimes what we don't do is bring in front of you individuals, faculty, and staff that are actually responsible for that. And so I'm going to ask Dr. Doolin to introduce the dean, who will introduce the individuals. But these are exceptional individuals that we're grateful and proud to have in our organization.
Madam President, members of the board, it is a pleasure to be with you here tonight. As you know, I always get the pleasure of introducing the dean that's bringing staff forward, and it's always fun to do, but this one's really, I don't know, warms my heart a little bit because you have before you a long-standing EVIT member that you guys have probably seen multiple times, and that is John Howell. John Howell has been at EVIT, I don't even want to say how long because it might make us all feel bad, but he's been here a while. When I was here as a health director back in 2009, at that time John Howell was teaching our MC10, which is like our Intro to Health course. Absolutely amazing. It was a true pleasure to have him on my team. He is the most amazing teacher that I have seen in action ever in my life. Upon coming back, I asked John every year if he was ready to go into leadership, and every year he said, no, I'm good. Then I'd ask again the next year, sometimes twice a year if there was an opening, I'd say, John, you ready yet? It was one of the happiest days of my life when John finally came to me and said, okay, I think I'm ready. And I remember jumping up in my office and saying, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so happy you're finally going to do this. And true to form, John has done exactly what I would thought he would do. And what's fascinating to me is right before I came over here tonight, his teacher pulled me aside and said, hey, we have an idea you should think about. And John said, oh, you're going to love this one. I said, okay, what's the idea? And he says, I think that you should make Mr. Howell the dean over all new teachers so he can show everybody how it's supposed to be done. And so that's how much his staff thinks about him, that how wonderful he is and how much he helps them to be better teachers. So thank you, John Howell.
Thank you. I'm going to cry now. Madam President, board members, I'm extremely excited to introduce to you 4 of my wonderful instructors here at EVIT and basically gush on them and tell you why they are awesome, because they really are. First, I'm going to start with our baking instructors. If I could have both chefs come up here, please, stand next to me. So with us tonight, we have Chef Scott Meyer and Chef John Diana. Chef Scott Meyer has been with EVIT for 10 years. I can't believe it's been that long because I think I remember when he first came and had to fill the shoes of Carlton Brooks. I don't know if you remember, some of you may have remembered him. And Chef Meyer has more than risen to that challenge. Chef John Diana had been at EVIT for a little while, but then was re-stationed out at our AJ campus and taught the culinary program out there for 6.5 years. And we brought him back this year into the year 1 baking role. He's hit the ground running. And so both of these chefs are long overdue for recognition, and that's why they're here tonight. First, I want to let you know that last year, I guess this year, beginning of this year, we split the baking space off into its own space in Building 1. And I cannot tell you how well these 2 chefs have utilized that space. 85% or more of the time students spend in baking is in that lab. and they're doing, and they're on task. They're not messing around. I invite all of you to come watch the magic that happens in that lab. I marvel at what I see every time I go in there. Some of you were at the dinner tonight, sampled the dessert, sampled the rolls. That's just one teeny bit of what students do in that lab. Our chefs also have a never say no attitude. Whatever it is, last second, last minute, they never say no. Because they know that what they're doing with students helps change lives. And every opportunity the students have to produce is an opportunity to help change their lives. One other thing that I think is truly amazing, we have asked teachers to step up big time this year when it comes to collecting placement data. And the baking program is one of only 6 programs that has 100% of their placement data collected. Again, it just speaks to the testament, or it's a testament to the work that these chefs put in. And last, I want to talk about retention data. So persistence data is something that we talk about. It measures, students being retained from the 10th day to the end of the year. Over the last 3 years, baking has maintained a 94% persistence rating, which is exemplary.
Yeah.
This year, so far, it's at 99%. First year, we've only lost 1 student since day 10. In second year, we've only lost 1 student since day 10. That's 2 students total since the 10th day of school. That's a testament to what they're doing in the classroom and how much students appreciate what they do. So I'd like to give them a round of applause, and I'll ask you if you want questions. Are there any questions for chefs?
Do you share recipes? No, that was, my son wants to do culinary next year. And I don't know if you can do baking and culinary, what you would suggest, or culinary and baking, what would you suggest? Because his favorites are sweets. So it's kind of a no-brainer, but.
Yeah, I think baking is probably the way.
My waistline does not need it.
Regardless of whether he chooses culinary or baking, he's going to have
It
a
sounds
rewarding
like
experience.
he's going to have an amazing experience. So, well done. I'm sure everyone on this panel and dais would like to say thank you for tonight. It was incredible.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and this is the program that I probably have the most direct experience with, having really enjoyed all of the baking that we have at the dinners, and also for Thanksgiving, you also fed my family. So
Yes.
really appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
It really is the most amazing thing. We do get to absolutely sample your program, which most we cannot. And so, yes, I feel like I know you in some way. Thank you.
Good. I would appreciate if each of you would say what you really enjoy the most working with the students, and what, give me some points that you really enjoy.
I think for me, I really like taking students, because I used to do both first and second year, and so I would have first years, people would come and they say, I have no creativity, I can't do this at all, and then by the end of their second year, they're doing fondant wedding cakes, and it's really gratifying to see the confidence build. I had a student today who, it took her 2 weeks to do a wedding cake, which obviously would not be acceptable in any bakery because it wouldn't be any good after 2 weeks. And her assignment today, she finished it on time in 3 days, and everything turned out really good. So it's just nice to see that kind of growth in the students.
That's incredible.
Yes, I would have to agree. I think it's, when we start out, they're very timid and they're very unsure of themselves, and then seeing them come into their own and really impressing us with the work that they can do that they didn't know they could do themselves, and that we knew that if we motivated them, they could. And so I learn a lot from them too, and I think that's my favorite part. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate those comments. Enjoy that, because I was also a teacher and enjoyed that part of it. We done?
Thank you very much.
Madam President, members of the board, I'd now like to introduce our electrical program instructors. Please come up. So this is Greg Lynch and Tyler Dima. They're both teaching the electrical program, which is a one-year program. So I think the board remembers that the electrical program was launched 3 years ago. And there were some major challenges that first year, correct, Dr. Doolin? Yes. Yes, should I tell them about the truths?
That didn't happen.
Well, not you, but.
I found out about that through placement data.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Whatever you want to do, it didn't happen.
Mr. Damon was not here for the truly, but if you want to hear that story, hit me up after the meeting, I'll tell you. But let's say that Tyler, so Greg just came on board this year. Tyler came on board last year. So he's been here this will be his second year. So let's just say that Tyler inherited a bit of a mess. There was lack of supplies and equipment. There was an emaciated curriculum. It was a less than ideal reputation caused by poor classroom management, let's just say. Despite that, the enrollment, the first year was at 32. The next year we were at 64.
Wow.
So Tyler inherited 2 overfull classes his first year. This year, we have 178.
Wow.
Yes, talk about growth. And that's again a testament to what we were able to establish last year, basically, and continue this year with both of them. So Tyler and Greg complement each other very well. He's the hard one. He's the nice one. That's what I keep getting told all the time. Or soft one. I don't remember. No, I'm teasing. They've created a lab space that is optimal for student learning, student engagement, especially when it comes to industry skills. I encourage all of you to come see what they built in that lab space. It's truly amazing. This year, they are also one of the 6 programs that have collected 100% of their placement data. They were the first of my group, and they were, I think, the first to get past the 85% mark as well, just pointing it out. They've done a great job with retaining students as well. Now, the 3-year average for electrical is 93% persistence data, but last year was 99%. Tyler lost 1 student. This year, it's at 95%. And again, it's 178 students. It's going to be harder to retain 99%, although I know it bugs them. To say that I feel blessed to have instructors that I can count on in the trades area. I mean, all my teachers in the trades area are great. But I know that the level of instruction that's going on in their classrooms is where it should be. Again, all of my trade teachers do great. But where electrical started and where it is now, I'm very, very grateful and thankful for them. Should I tell them what my wife calls you?
Yes.
So they joke around, she jokes around with me that Tyler is my pet. But instead of saying, because when she met him the first time, oh, you're John's puppy.
Oh, no.
She meant to say pet. Yeah, so Tyler is not my pet. I just like making him uncomfortable. So again, a round of applause for these 2. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Any questions or comments from the board?
I'd like comments from you, gentlemen, what you have learned and enjoy, and I want to hear about how you grew the program.
You want to start that off?
No, you can go first and let him finish.
So, well, I have about 10 years of teaching back in New York. It was more in the cognitively impaired and doing music therapy for TBI folks. So coming out here and experiencing this just really blew my mind. And one thing that I would like to share that I take out of it, that I enjoy so much, is kids telling me what they did over the weekend, that now they can wire up a receptacle or hang a fan and do all this stuff on their own. Some of them are actually making money now on the side. So immediately applying what they're learning, kind of like what the chefs had said, to see that is definitely very cool and rewarding. So it's kind of cool to see these kids. I wasn't doing receptacles at 17, that's for sure. And now these kids are doing 3-ways, half hots, the whole 9. So that's fun to see, for sure. That's cool. Sure.
When it comes to keeping students, it's more about the students, I feel. And one thing I want to point out is during my interview, I had Dr. Wilson in the interview. And I thought that was normal. I didn't know. I thought it was normal. It wasn't normal. And I remember asking him, it's a new program. It's 1 year old. Why do you need a new teacher? And he took a deep breath and he had a long story that went with it. You guys know.
He always has long stories, yes.
Surely not.
Okay.
Can't keep anything short.
The gist of the story was we didn't do a great job supporting, but we're committed to supporting the program. That was his commitment. We're going to support the program. So I asked, hey, can we tour the area? Well, it's under construction right now, so I understood that. So then when the class started, I go into this newly renovated space, and I go, great, where are the supplies? And I had 2 milk crates. Luckily, 2 milk crates. I could tell from the 2 milk crates that previous instruction was done by someone who was a retired electrician, and those milk crates were from their garage. I got the feeling, right? And I was kind of nervous, and I looked at Howell, and he said, don't worry, we're here to support you. Tell us what you need. And I put together an order, and boom, and everything happened. Everything happened quickly. Orders came in, and I thought, like, I'm from construction background. I order something, it's on site the next day. That's not that way in public school. Found that out, right? So there's a little bit of realism. So he'd give me a dose of realism and say, don't worry, we'll get it though. And he would tell me time frames so I would know what to expect, when to expect it. And he was just amazing with supporting. So the students were able to build their lab. Last year they built their lab. We shared a lab with HVAC and plumbing. We were all in there together. I thought it was awesome. It was great. Well, when you triple in a year, you got to move space. So then we had to move space, which was fine, because don't worry, you're still supported. We're going to figure this out. That's what it really comes down to. That's what comes to growing a program, I feel, is support. And I have that. We have that. It's from him. He gets support from them. They get support from you. My opinion.
Madam President, I have a question. Absolutely. How did you market the program to go from where it was 2 years ago to where it is now? Word of mouth? Was this marketing? Was it a combination of? Did you?
I don't do marketing. I feel it comes from the instructors.
Absolutely, John.
The best marketing you can ever have as an instructor is quality instruction. And word of mouth from students. That's what it is.
I mean, it really sounds like the right people at the right place, at the right time. So that's so impressive. 178, is that what you're saying? What do you project for next year? And
3,000.
I don't, I'm really excited about it. I got the dream team over there. But I would ask that you talk a little bit about apprenticeship and how you're taking your students to that next level after they do that year with you.
So it is a 1-year program. It is a 1-year program. And now EVIT we get to offer a apprenticeship, a Department of Labor recognized apprenticeship. And as a field employee, I understand the value in that. And we get to pair up with partner companies, electrical contractors, and we have a team of people who work on that. And the idea is they get 300 hours of in-classroom training that first year. So again, electrical is a 1-year program. However, if you really like it and you're like, I want to be an electrician, I know I'm going to be an electrician, great. You can then roll over into the apprenticeship. It's not mandatory, but it's an option there for you. With that apprenticeship, it's a total of 4 years. To have a Department of Labor recognized apprenticeship program, you need 8,000 hours of on-the-job training, and with our apprenticeship program, 600 hours of classroom instruction. Well, your first year, your 1 year finishing the program, let's call it your junior year, that goes to 300 hours of your in-classroom training. So then what we do is your senior year, you can still sign up, but you don't come to EVIT every day. We get you paired up with an employer and you go out and you go work, getting towards that 8,000 hours of on-the-job training. I can tell you what the field is gonna be like, but you won't experience it until you're out there. So then the kids go out and go work, and then They will come back to class one night every 2 weeks, which is much less than most apprenticeships. When I went through my apprenticeship, it was 2 nights every single week. We're able to do less classroom time after that first year because we front-loaded all those hours in that first year. So your senior year, you are out working as an electrician in the field, as an apprentice, gaining real experience, one night every 2 weeks for a couple hours. You come to EVIT, and then you learn why you're doing what you're doing. So senior year, you're already working. Then you graduate. You're working full-time as an electrician now because you've already been paired up with a contractor. You know you like them, they know you like you. So now you're working full-time, and you still only come one night every couple of weeks. So you're in your 3rd year of your apprenticeship, 1 year out of high school. 2 years out of high school, you're just about to finish up your apprenticeship, which is a huge step forward for most people, because most people, when you go into electrical, you have to find a contractor, you work for them, and they're gonna give you 6 months to a year to figure out, are you a good employee? Do we wanna put you through an apprenticeship? So you get to save that year right there off the bat. You're already paired up with a quality employer. I think you're saving about 4 or 5 years coming to this program, as opposed to just going into the field.
Are you being paid?
Yeah, EVIT does like a direct deposit every 2
No,
weeks.
no, no, are the students being paid? I know I'm paying you. Are the students being paid when they're in the apprenticeship program?
Yeah, it's a paid apprenticeship program. You will be treated just like you were as a normal apprentice. So after talking with the apprentices that we have out in the field and the companies we have out in the field, they say, yeah, we're gonna treat them the same as every employee. We just understand their schedule might need to be a little bit different. So they're gonna be starting, depending on the contractor, in that $17 to $20 an hour range. Senior year in high school, $17, $20 an hour range.
Wow.
And then you gain experience. So with an apprenticeship program, we have a minimum pay structure scale where you will get a bump in pay based off the journeyman wage, which all of our contractors have agreed to. So that way a student will be minimum getting a raise roughly every 6 months. A lot of our contractors are gonna pay more than that anyways, but it's there just to set in case, hey, you're not at this 60% of the journeyman scale, so ring, 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 employer, they're doing well in class, they're doing well in the field, they need to get a 5% bump, 5% of the journeyman wage bump. So yes, they will be getting paid.
I have a question for you. They're receiving money. Do you teach them how to handle that money so they don't spend it on, I need a new car, I need this and that, how to save it or anything like that?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because we do talk about how to be smart with your money and what to do. And one of the great benefits I have is with the program, with working with such a great organization, Hope Tech. We have the Hope Tech facility right there. I have the privilege of mentoring a couple of students in that program. One of them happens to be my student, or happens to be Mr. Lynch's student. And over the weekend, right after the expo, we went car shopping, because we've been talking about, what to do with your money, smart financial decisions. And that student was able to buy his first car all cash.
Wow.
So that's what we did after expos. We were out car shopping, test driving cars with him, and he ended up having a car that night. Drove it back. Everything was good. So yes, we do teach that. That is part of the program.
Good.
That's awesome.
I appreciate all the information you gave us. It's sounding good. We like these teachers.
Madam President, members of the governing board, again, I sit here and I am just so grateful to work in an organization in which we have individuals like this, the chefs, who come to work every single day. And never once did you hear them talk about the course necessarily that they were teaching. What they were talking about is the interaction they're having with students that ultimately will change their life. And when we root ourselves in that belief and we get people that believe what we believe, we begin to see a change that you won't see in most places. And the resources, and he was exactly correct, we are who we are because you all have allowed us to be who we are. And the success we're having, the people you see, is a tribute to you as much as it is to anybody else. And so I'm very grateful to work with and for individuals like this, but also to work with and for a governing board that sees the potential, sees the power, and sees the possibility in being better tomorrow than we were today. So thank you all very much for showing up tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, you get to tell them, let's get out of here.
So we appreciate you guys coming. That was a super kumbaya, warm fuzzy moment. That was the
Yeah.
best part. And then please go out and celebrate. Feel free to stay. But also, you're excused. Go have fun. Go enjoy. Appreciate it. Thank you. You guys are very inspirational and proud to be a part of EVIT. Thank you for coming.
John, you have to stay. You're administrator.
Yeah, come back, sorry. All right, let's move on to minutes. We're on number 4. I'd like to have a motion that combines both minutes, please, unless someone has.
I so move that we can organize both minutes A and B as one motion.
And we approve them,
Sir.
yes?
That we
So
We
move
approve
that we.
we
and
combine
approve.
and approve.
Second.
Okay, will you please call the vote by acclamation?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
All right, item 5, call to the public, and we have 2 people tonight, so I
Madam President, I
guess-
believe there's a third.
Is there a third
Yeah,
or
it's-
4th?
Fourth.
Okay, I'm going to go alphabetical just because, unless there's a rule that they need to come, first serve.
Amy just stepped out.
Oh, okay, then I'll have her go last, okay. So I'll start with the Bs, how about that? So first we have Meredith Bleak. Is she not here?
I am here.
Oh, do you want to go second?
No, I'm totally fine. I didn't know when we spoke, it was all about the actual action items for the discussion.
So you can do it either. If you'd like to speak to the item at the time at which the item is an action item, we can wait and hear your call to the public then, or you can speak in generalities to the item that's on the agenda tonight as well, your decision.
Okay, my question is, I have filled a FOIA request for Mesa Public Schools, because Mesa wants to do academies in the high schools, and it was my understanding that we were going to use CTE funds to do it, and I tried to ask the district, like, how are we using CTE funds for all the high schools, and I haven't gotten anything back. It's been over a month.
Ma'am,
Everybody I talked to,
Ma'am.
like, it's a lot of back.
He's going to ask you to go to the.
ma'am, would you go to the mic and tell us all that stuff, please? Because we need to have it on record.
Thank you. Okay,
Should I start the timer?
Mesa Public Schools is doing academies in their high schools, and I was told that we were using CTE funds in order to do it. And so I filled out a FOIA request to Mesa Public Schools over a month ago to find out exactly how those funds are being used, what the academies look like. I just wanted to make sure that we were using everything appropriately. And to be fair, I've never had a kid go through EVIT. I wasn't very familiar with CTE funds. And so I did a little bit of my own research. I just wanted to make sure that that we were doing everything above board. I didn't want Mesa to misuse funds and ruin it for everybody. And to be very transparent, our district has not done a good job of informing parents about a lot of the changes that are taking place, including these academies that are being CTE funded in whole or in part. And so I just thought that I would come tonight to maybe ask you guys what that looks like as we're gonna, you guys, it sounds like you vote tonight to fund the Mesa Public Schools academies for the high schools. Our kids, there's out of the 6 high schools in Mesa, only 1 high school is not doing the academies. And to be fair, it's Mesa High School, but they are doing 1 academy, is what we were told from board members. Every other high school is now doing academies, and it's mandated for the kids. There's not an option to be in the academies. Each academy meets the state standard classes, and then there's an additional class that's like the academy class that kind of ties things together. And it's my understanding from the district, and I still don't know yet, it's unclear, that maybe that extra class is going to be CTE funded. But even then, I don't know, sounds like to use CTE funds, the teacher has to be CTE certified before that gets funded, and then the money stays with the schools. So I'm not even sure if those classes have teachers that are CTE certified. And I'm just trying to make sure that whatever we're doing, whatever monies that EVIT is allowing for Mesa Public Schools to have for these academies makes sense. Because just in looking at like how the Arizona Senate had set up CTE funds and not a lawyer. Don't read legalese, just trying to force my way through things. It sounds like kids have to be given a choice. And if Mesa Public Schools isn't giving our high school kids a choice to be in these academies, I don't know what choice means then. Or is Mesa Public Schools using it as the kids get to choose an academy? Because then that's choice, but if not, if they're making them take the elective that is CTE, then we're not giving them choice, and that sounds like a mismanagement of funds. The other thing is it was my understanding that kids that received the CTE funds needed to go into the field that they were that the CTE funds were for, and maybe that's for different.
That was time. We have a 3-minute
I'm so
limit.
sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Anyway, I just have concerns that I hope that maybe we could, I just looking for clarification from anybody, anywhere. Okay.
Well, I appreciate you coming. Generally, as a board, we do not comment unless it's on the agenda. But I appreciate you coming and being so involved. And if you stay and watch the meeting, hopefully you'll get some clarity, and hopefully your own district, we are 2 separate entities. Hopefully you'll get some more information there, but please stay. And there will be a lot of things talked about tonight.
So is there discussion in the section? Or do we just listen to as you approve things?
This is the only part of the meeting where there is any back and forth between the public.
Okay.
Unless, of course, you wanted to speak at a certain different time in the meeting. But generally, you don't have a meeting where people can just say like, hey, I have a question or whatever. It's a very regimented process.
Right.
We follow Robert's Rules of Order. So this would be the only time, unless you had a second public request that you wanted to speak on something different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I wanted to ask questions about Mesa Public Schools specifically, so maybe not during this section. It
Right,
should have
and
been
we
the
probably
other.
cannot answer those.
Okay,
So in all honesty, and that's what I would say.
Yeah, so I think I think as you hear the agenda, I would encourage, if there's a point in time, and you'll hear the explanation when that might be appropriate, to fill out another form and ask questions. We're not necessarily going to be speaking about specifically Scottsdale Unified as a district, or Gilbert as a district, or Chandler as a district, or Mesa as a district. We'll be speaking about programs that are within each of those districts. And so each of the areas in which the board may approve or deny programs will carry with it programs from all of our sending districts. And so Mesa would be one of those. And so there isn't going to be time specifically to speak on, there isn't a Mesa-centric time that we're going to be having an action item on. It'll be part of all 5 of the action items. And so if you would like to hear the explanation, and then feel free, before we get into the action item, if you'd like to do another call to the public and explain and ask questions specifically, you can do it at that time once you hear kind of how the process is going to work. Does that make sense?
yeah, I was trying to figure out when and where and to ask the questions and how your meeting was going, so yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Rachel Bostock. And I should have said earlier, we have a 3-minute time limit, so
So,
sorry
Madam
about that.
President, if I might,
Yes,
I
sir.
wonder, would you like to wait and speak at that same time as well, or is this more just kind of a general conversation, speaking to the,
I feel like I have both.
okay.
So I don't know. I wasn't familiar with EVIT either, but I do have a son that will be attending next year.
Awesome.
And I'm really excited off of what was said today for him, because I feel like he's going to really, really enjoy it, and everybody's very passionate about what they're doing. I always thought that there was a really good partnership with Mesa Public Schools and EVIT. And you just said they're 2 different entities, but I always felt like, from my understanding, was it was working together to allow students to be able to have this basically on-the-job training kind of and learning. So my son's coming next year, and we worked really hard to make sure he would have enough room in his schedule to be able to come here next year. And then with the changes that they're making, he's an athlete, and it is him and a lot of his friends. I can name 3 parents off that are going to withdraw their applications, and so I just am wondering if you guys are aware of the changes being made by Mesa Public Schools and how it is affecting our children and their enrollment and their options to be able to do everything. It's really going to limit these athletes, and to me that doesn't seem like much of a partnership anymore if we are taking the opportunity away from these students to be able to do all the things that they not only want but need to do to graduate, and in an effective manner for their learning. So it makes me sad that we have parents that are doing the athletics that my son's doing, that they aren't having the choice, and this seems like a great place of learning, and I feel sad that the one that is being taken away from is you guys. So I just wanted to get that out there because that makes me really sad. It makes me sad for my son too, that he's in a position where he's having to pick things that he likes over learning because of choices being made for adults for them that we didn't feel like we had input in. The other question for me was, Meredith said the same thing, I always thought that CTE funding was a choice, like it was something you chose to do. And I feel like when we're implementing these academies, I still have one more child coming up, and is that child's choice gonna be taken away? Will she have enough CTE funds left to come to East Valley Institute if that's what she chooses to do? How does that look, and how can we fix that for the kids? That was fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do know that Mesa is having their board meeting tomorrow night, and I did look at their agenda, and it looks like this will be a topic, so I encourage you to go to that meeting tomorrow night. Okay, next we have Marlo Loria. And 3 minutes as well.
Thank you so much, Madam President and Governing Board. It's been a while since I've been here, and it's exciting. I represent Mesa Public Schools. I am the Career and Technical Education Director, and have just received some of this information as of Friday about these concerns, and we as a district have sent emails in response to some of this misinformation that is being shared not only tonight, but also via social media and all of those channels. One of the things is we have academies, and one of the part of the academies is we are doing block scheduling that actually allows kids more opportunities to take more classes. This year we have 3 high schools that are doing block scheduling. 2 of them have already implemented the academy model, and 2 other high schools will be implementing next year. And so we will have only 1 high school, as was mentioned, Mesa High School, that will be more of our traditional. One of the things that we have done and have been very intentional in our academy model is that there are some courses or programs that are CTE. We have one public service that is not. And there's a whole instructional design and career connected learning that I would love to go into at another time, but I know I'm limited. And so, but one of the things I want to say is that kids are not being denied access to EVIT. I have not been made aware of any child. Kids already have challenges attending EVIT and doing all kinds of programming based on a traditional 6-period day. And athletics is one of them, and attending seminary, and wanting to do X, Y, and Z. It is already challenging, as you all well know, for kids to get room in their schedule to be able to do EVIT, and we have worked with every child based on their situation. Unfortunately, a kid wanting to do internship, athletics, EVIT, and do their academic, that's really challenging. And sometimes they just can't do it all and have to make those choices. And we, I assure you, are here to support them, especially if they want to go to EVIT, because that's what's best for them. We have seen an increase of 400 students from last year to this year attending EVIT. It has not had a negative impact on enrollment whatsoever. In fact, we have designed these programs to make sure there are explicit pathways articulated from our academies to go to EVIT. So we predict we're going to see a significant increase. I'm going to be not overly optimistic. I could see we could have up to 2,000 students from Mesa Public Schools attending EVIT within the next couple of years. Because part of the academy model is connecting them to their interests, to their strengths, and then handing them off to that more, where they're going to get certifications, they're going through the program, but a lot of our programs are broad. So our Health Science Academy, they'll be earning industry certifications, work-based learning, but we're not offering CNA. They need to go to EVIT for CNA. We're not going to offer medical assisting. They need to go to here, just kind of like our construction program. We're not offering plumbing, but we offer construction, not as an academy, but as a CTE program.
Time.
I know, I apologize. So I'm open for other questions, or would love to have further this conversation.
Thank you very much. So our last one is Amy Downs. Did she come back?
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Wilson, Dr. Doolin, and all the other members of the governing board. I just wanted to narrate a tiny bit for you on the only program that we're proposing tonight. Coronado High School is opening a business and entrepreneurship center, and they partner with SEC, and we've changed things up for them to start a business management program there that we're asking tonight for approval, and it will be coinciding with a school-based enterprise, which they have not done at that campus in probably over a decade. So we're excited to revamp that program, and I just wanted you to hear about that because we've had other business programs that we've decided to taper off and just focus now on this entrepreneurship hub. And we're very excited to have an SEC instructor become the CTE daytime teacher. He used to teach at Desert Mountain, a marketing class. He's an awesome teacher. The kids love him. He's already at that campus now doing a dual enrollment concurrent offering. So you'll see that tonight on your things to approve, and I just wanted to take a moment to make sure you knew all the exciting things happening at that school with their new program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So next, we will move to item 6.
Madam President, move the approval of items 6A and B on the agenda.
I second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, will you call the vote, please?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, item 7, information and discussion. So we'll start with A, the EVIT Employee Handbook. Dr. Wilson.
Madam President, members of the Governing Board, I'm going to ask our Director of Legal Services to present this item to you, if you would, please.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Madam President, members of the board. As you know, we've pared down our board policies from 1,100 pages to 279 pages, but still most of those pages do not apply to employees. So in the past, we've taken out the parts that apply to faculty. We have a faculty handbook. We took out the parts for students. We have a student handbook. And now we've just taken out the parts for employees so that the employees have all the parts they need to know in one place. It's just basically those excerpts of the board policy, not changing anything. The only change is we're going to require that they sign that they got it so they can't pull the George Costanza defense and say, if somebody just told me there was a rule. So they'll all be informed now.
That's great. It's so logical. I think anytime you can bring in a Seinfeld reference, it's a win. Thank you. Okay.
Next one.
So item B, process for board vacancies. Dr. Wilson.
Madam President, members of the Governing Board, for those of you new to the board, this might be a new process. For those of you who have been around a bit, we've done this a couple of times, but I thought it was maybe a good idea just to kind of walk through the process, because you're going to have 2 items in action, in the action section, in which you're to recommend to the county superintendent replacement for the open board vacancy seats. We have District 4 and District 9. As a reminder, the county superintendent isn't obligated to accept your recommendation. She can take it under consideration, or she can choose to go in a different direction if that's what she chooses to do. But the office allows you as a governing board to make a recommendation as to who you would like to see as a candidate. You'll see, I think it is at District, one of the districts has 1 individual. 9, and then there's 3 individuals in District 4. Clearly, either you would like to move forward and recommend the individual in District 9, because he's the only one, or not. But in District 4, then obviously the 3 different individuals, you have the information they submitted to you as kind of backup. What I would ask is that in the recommendation for both 4 and 9, whoever makes the recommendation, you specifically identify the individual that you are recommending, so that if that is the case, we can forward that name to the county superintendent's office. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you for that clarification.
May I ask
Yes,
a question?
please, Mr. Boyle.
So in the case of, I guess I have a couple different questions. In the case of the District 9 with 1 applicant, could our motion be to reopen the application, given that there was only 1 applicant, or could we move to recommend that?
A statutory requirement is that you make the recommendation within 30 days of the vacancy.
Okay. And then for District 4, am I wrong? I think I am wrong, apparently, in thinking that we could recommend up to 3 candidates, or is it just recommending the 1?
Just the 1.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Glad I could help. No.
Easiest answers ever, right? Okay, number 7, item C. No, we did that. Hello.
No one see.
No, we're on C.
Oh, we're still on C. Okay,
Yeah.
good. I'll stay on this. Program approval process.
Madam President, members of the governing board, so every single year, we get into the month of January, and we bring to you the opportunity for you to approve programs in our satellites. This is a Herculean task, both by EVIT staff and also our sending districts, to try to cobble all of this together and get it to a point that just makes sense. And then when it comes to you, it's a Herculean task historically for you to approve those programs. And so we're going to go about it a little bit differently this year. When I had the opportunity to meet with our board president and clerk, we talked about, is there a way to make it a little bit more efficient and effective for you all in your approval? I'd like to thank Dr. Doolin and the staff here at EVIT, because I'm not kidding you, there were just hours upon hours upon hours that were spent going through and making sure that we're understanding, that we're being clear, that if we've missed something, that we ask for clarification. And it's all that hard work on the front end that I think it will allow us to have a much more effective process tonight on the back end. I do want to remind you that you still have the traditional backup documents that we always gave you in terms of the evaluation matrix that, talks about whether those indicators were met. On that document, there's always been the recommendation, and the recommendation is approval. And the reason for that is because that document is a reflection of whether or not the satellite programs meet the statutory requirement for being a CTED program, right? But as a governing board, you have an obligation and a duty not only to make sure that they're meeting the statutory requirement, but also that you are the stewards of whether or not it's the quality of the content, the quality of the program. So when you see approval there from administration, that means exactly what it is. They've met the requirements. And that may be sufficient for you, or it may not. But please don't misunderstand approval from administration saying that you should approve all of the programs, because that's not our intent. That's your decision, not our decision. The way we organized it this year is a bit different. If you remember in years past, we would start with the school district A, and then we would go into each high school, and then each program. And honest to goodness, by about the second high school, y'all and everybody was like, ugh. And that's not fair to you, and it's not fair to the process. And so what we decided to do this year was to go about it by creating kind of 5 different action items. Essentially 5 different buckets, each generating a different action item. You'll see what each of those are as you go through the process. But what I would ask you to do is that you would read the motion that is in the agenda, because that coincides with the title of the information in the board backup. And then Dr. Doolin will explain to you what each of those buckets represent, right? You will notice that the first bucket that you're going to be asked to approve carries probably 90% of all of the programs that are being requested. So once we get through that first action item, we're like, rounding the corner to home, Mr. Watkins. Now, as a governing board, though, member, you always have the right to pull out a program from the action item and do it separately. So if that's the case, then you still have the right to do that here on any of those. Is that making sense? Mm-hmm. So when we get there, Dr. Doolin will explain what each one of those buckets are. And again, the idea behind it is to make it more efficient and effective for you, but also probably give us more time to have discussion and conversation in areas that you might want to have discussion and conversation, because we aren't spending so much time just repeating hours into the process. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay.
Dr. Wilson, I'd like to let you know that I appreciate the work that you've put into this, and I like the streamlining of it. It's going to help us, because I know it was nerve-wracking for me last year to do that as the president.
Absolutely, and I think it's fair to you guys, because honestly, after about an hour of it, I mean, let's be honest, that's a lot. And so I think this gives a much more succinct process for you guys to engage in a meaningful way, and for us to be able to respond in a meaningful way.
Agree, thank you. All right, so let's move on to those item 8 action items. Start with 8A, foreign trade zone requests. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the foreign trade zone request.
Second.
Second, any discussion?
I'll third.
Any discussion? All right, call for the vote, please.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 8B, policy revision. This is a second read that we will be voting on. So, Mr. Colbell.
Thank you, Madam President. As I explained last week, this is not a change in the policy. This is a clarification of how we value the number of hours in the bank after the first year of the program.
Thank you. So do we have a motion?
Move the approval of the policy revision identified in 8B in the agenda.
I second.
Any discussion on the vacation bank clarifications? All right, please call the vote. Mr. Boyle?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, approval of overnight travel, Arizona Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators Conference. Is there a motion?
Move the approval of 8C on the agenda, approval of overnight travel, Arizona Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators Conference.
I'll second. Thank you. Any discussion on this? Comments, concerns? Okay, please call the vote.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, so let's get to item D, board vacancy, District 4. This is the one that has 3.
Yeah.
And I believe, let's make a motion first so we can discuss. Is there a,
I think,
do you want it, I mean, it's usually
do we have to have the
introduction.
person's name in there that, or the
Do you want us
motion
to
just say?
discuss?
Yeah,
Because I'm
so-
so used to introduction, I want to
Yeah.
make sure we're doing this correctly.
So unless there's a problem from our counselor, I would encourage in this one that you have a discussion on the front end,
Okay.
so that you can then have, because you would have to make a motion, and I don't know what the person's name, and I don't know that you're in a position to do that yet.
Could I ask you to lead us in this discussion, or is that something you find inappropriate?
No, I'd be happy to.
Or- okay.
I'd be happy to.
Okay,
You ought to
because,
have a motion before a discussion, so even if you just stick a name in and then vote no
Okay,
on that
stick a
person,
name in.
and stick another name in later, that's fine.
Madam President, I move
recommend we do that?
I move that we recommend Jared Hancock for District 4.
Madam President, I second that.
Okay, so let's discuss then, thank you. Any discussion, any comments?
Yes, Madam President, I do have a comment. Of the applicants for District 4, excuse me, I believe that Mr. Hancock has the focus on students and has the understanding of being able to bring his unique background to this board. And although all of the other candidates are very well qualified, for EVIT's mission and vision of those candidates, I believe that Mr. Hancock is most qualified to be able to help us carry forth with that mission and vision.
Thank you for that, Dr. Metcalf. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to add?
Madam President, I actually concur in my sense that all of these folks are incredibly well qualified, and I have to tell you, the thing that impressed me about Jared Hancock was I know that he was previously appointed and withdrew because he wanted to be appointed in regular order, and that, for me, that was impressive. And I like somebody who's got a sense of proprieties. Although any one of them would be great additions to the board, so.
Madam President, I would agree with that because Mr. Hancock is also familiar with the process. Even though he was appointed, he withdrew 5 days later and chose to go through the process as everyone else did. To me, that shows ethics, and that shows the willingness for this board to be able to make the choice, because we as a board know which type of candidate is going to be a good fit for us, and I hope that rings true continuously.
Thank you. I agree. I think, I was going to say, maybe this is the same thing you were going to say, Mr. Covington,
Yeah,
was that we don't often get to see people, their actions, we don't get to see votes, but here Mr. Hancock has demonstrated something that we can gauge his ethics based on. The other two didn't have that, I understand. It's not quite apples to oranges, but he's given us an action and kind of demonstrated the type of person he is, which I find very valuable. So, Mr. Covington.
I didn't realize that he is the one that was in for one day earlier. In and out, the shortest board member ever. Now he's coming back. But reading these applications, I found all of them were qualified, but he showed the emotion that we need on the board is students first. And we care about them. And that made the difference for choosing him, you know. And the other ones, I appreciate their application, but we're here for the students.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so we have made our motion, and it's been seconded, so now please call the vote on Jared Hancock being referred, but actually, yes, well, roll call, let's do roll call, sorry.
Dr. Metcalf?
Yes.
Mr. Covington?
Aye.
Mr. Boyles and I. Mr. Hobson?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
President McAfee?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Mr. Hancock is watching. Congratulations. Okay, let me get back onto my agenda. And next, we will do item 8E, board vacancy for District 9. Same thing. Just, we have a motion to approve one person.
Madam President, I make a motion to approve one person from District 9 for our board vacancy.
Do we want to name him? Oh, sorry. Jason
He
Hunt.
does have a name.
Jason Hunt.
Jason Hunt. I make that motion. Sorry.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Mr. Watkins will second. Any discussion?
Yeah, we really have to have this in 30 days. I mean, one line, my name is Jason Hunt. The purpose is I'm going for the board, District 9. What do you know about Jason Hunt? There's no personality here. It's just a fact of this. I'm Jason Hunt. I would love to know more about Jason Hunt.
So I don't know Mr. Hunt at all. This just came in as advertised on our website. You know, it's a challenge with us because there are times in which we have 3 or 4 individuals interested in joining our family, and we've also experienced times in which literally nobody wants to join our family. And so we're kind of left in a situation where nobody wants to join our family, of kind of limping along. I'd like to think that Mr. Hunt is well-intended, although I don't know him as well-intended, in terms of the commitment he wants to make to EVIT, but I think that would be part of what we may want to talk to the county superintendent about, that if you approve the recommendation, there's a stipulation with it that you would like her to make sure that she really spends time understanding why and what the interest is of Mr. Hunt in terms of joining the EVIT board. Again, like I said, at the end of the day, your recommendation has value, but ultimately it's not, she doesn't have to abide by it. So she may choose to not go with Mr. Hunt and reopen it.
Correct.
Dr. Wilson, if I may.
Any other comment?
Oh, Tammy.
Madam President, may I, the 30 days is the deadline to make a recommendation, but you're not statutorily required to make a recommendation. You just pass the name along, because there's only one say without a recommendation. And the Maricopa County Superintendent of Schools doesn't have that same timeline. So she could choose this person or somebody else, or reopen the process at her choosing.
Thank you. I know that when I applied for a vacancy, my letter was extremely short and concise. Same thing, I was the only person as well, and then of course I had an election later. But I like to think that it worked out.
You're a board president.
I like to think that it worked out, and giving the benefit of a doubt. However, my point was going to be that this is a simple process, and the real vetting will be done by Superintendent Boggs and her team, and she will be able to vet and check him out. So I think I would like to have a full working board. I would really like to have all 9 seats filled. And I would like to move on with the process personally. I think that would be probably the best.
Madam President, may I make a comment? It's been 7 months since we've had someone in from District 9. And I think if we have one candidate, that we take who we can get and move forward with that individual and do the best we can, because we must have a full board. I agree with you 100%. 7 months with an opening is not productive, and it's just unprofessional.
I agree, thank you. So, we're done commenting? Anyone else?
Call the question.
Call the vote, please. Roll call.
Dr. Metcalf?
Aye.
Mr. Covington?
Nay.
Mr. Boyle is a nay. Mr. Hobson?
Aye.
Mr. Watkins?
Aye.
President McAfee?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And congrats to Mr. Hunt. On to the next. All right, so now we are going to get into the meaty portion of the meeting. We are on the meaty portion. or the get settled portion. So item F, so CTED satellite program approval for existing continuing programs.
I'd like to make a motion for the 25-26 CTE satellite programs. We approve for existing and continuing programs,
I second.
all of them.
Any discussion on F?
Just one.
So if I could, I actually, each of these, and I don't want to belabor the point, but I think it's important that people hear the process and the rationale behind. I'd like Dr. Doolin to explain why we did what we did in each of these different buckets, if you're okay. So the first one, if she would please explain, is the approval for programs, existing, continuing programs.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So this first bucket of programs are programs that have been in existence the previous year and are continuing into this year. So that means they ran in 24-25 and then are coming back to run again in 25-26. It also means that they have met all of the requirements to be approved according, the statutory requirements to be approved, or they've submitted a waiver and then that waiver will be followed up on. So you will see in your backup documents that some of these programs that in this bucket that you are approving might have a waiver for the teacher because they want to make sure that you're going to approve it before they fill that spot in some instances because they had someone resign, retire, that type of thing. But I wanted to bring that to your attention that is this bucket of programs. It is the majority of the programs. They will be very similar to last year.
Dr. Doolin, when must these provisionals be filled?
So we're going to do the same process that we did last year, and this is also one of the things that we will look at coming up with a specific date in the future moving forward as we go into our new IGAs, so it'll be very clear. But last year what we did is roughly, I want to say it was middle of August, we contacted the school districts, or late August, and asked them where they were in the process of getting a certified teacher, and they were able to either send us the certification that that they did have a certified teacher, or provide us with the resume and that they had submitted to get that teacher certified. I will tell you that there is a process down at the state, and we kept tabs with each and every one of them, but sometimes that process can take a couple of months, but we made sure that we had the resume or the information on the front end that they had the experience to get the certification. We were just waiting for the state to approve it. So we kind of watch that and keep in tabs with the program.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
And it looks like it's not just more than 90% of the programs that are up tonight. It's about 95% of the programs tonight would be in this bucket.
Correct.
Yes, I think, yes, I think when it's all said and done, you'll see that the vast majority are either in this bucket or the next two buckets.
Okay. Any other questions? Do I hear anything down there?
Call for the
Okay,
question.
let's call the vote, please, by acclamation.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, item G, satellite programs. These will be new continuing program approvals with contingency pending offering the entire ADE completer program. And Dr. Doolin.
Can we get a motion?
Oh, a motion,
Yeah.
thank you. Can I have a motion?
Move the approval of item 8G on the agenda.
I moved
Quick.
moved something different.
Quick.
Okay. I move the approval of item 8G on the agenda pending offering the entire ADE completer program.
Second.
Okay. Dr. Doolin.
Okay, so you notice that this one has a little bit of a different title, and of course, your motion also represented that. So on these group of programs where it says pending offer the entire ADE completer program, let me explain why they're here. They were either new last year, so they had a waiver to not offer the complete program, but because they were new last year and it was a 2-year program, they would be able to offer the complete program. And we wanted to make sure we were clear in our communication that our expectation is that you are approving programs, not courses, so that you have to offer the complete program. We also noticed through going through our persistence data that we had certain areas, certain programs that had offered the first year in a program for 3 or 4 years in a row and never offered the second completing course. So we wanted to make sure we still approve those programs, but with the contingency that you have to offer the complete program. So there's different reasons that programs would fall in this bucket. Another reason that a program would fall in this bucket is, let's say they had the program in 22, 23, 23, 24, but in 24, 25, they couldn't find a teacher, so they couldn't run it, but they're bringing it back in 25, 26. However, they still have students present on their campus that could take that second course and be a completer, so we wanted to make sure the complete sequence of courses was offered. That was a lot to say, but that's why they're in this bucket.
Understand. Any discussion, any questions?
Yes, I have a question. In this area, the very first one is applied technology device maintenance. Can I understand that program, please?
This is a different.
Well, it's a different,
That's
I'm
for-
on
that's
the
for
one
next
that's,
one.
I'm on the next one, never mind.
We'll get back
I'm
to
getting
okay.
ahead of us. I'm
Safer.
usually behind.
You're ahead of me.
Sorry.
Dr. Doolin, would you be able to tell us
It's this
what,
one
what
here.
those contingencies
Oh, no,
are,
it's
and
not.
have each
Yeah.
one of these
This is
met
a separate one.
the entire sequence? Are each one of them
No,
offering that
this is the
sequence?
double.
Since that's
So
what-
this means that you're only approving it if they meet,
If.
if they're gonna offer the complete sequence.
So this is an
The
approval.
complete
if.
program. If they don't offer the complete program, it would not be eligible to be approved and eligible to receive CTE funding.
So there's a big if in there, if approved.
So we're giving them the option that if
If they're
they
approved.
get the whole sequence.
Correct.
So if we approve it tonight, if, and they don't get it, it just doesn't
They don't.
happen.
It's like the teacher waiver, it's similar to
Same
the
thing.
idea that if they don't have it by August, and we'll look for students enrolled in the classes, then your program, your approval is no longer valid because it was if contingent upon, and they may or may not have it.
It's that yellow light.
Dr. Wilson, the districts that have this issue, we're clear with them about
Correct,
what you
correct.
gotta do.
Correct. In fact, I will give Dr. Dillon credit because I think she's spent quite a bit of time working with our partnering districts. And for the most part, I think they've actually corrected the issues already. So I think it's
Most of
going to
them
wind
have.
up being a non-issue even before we start the year.
Yeah. And it's probably an issue of finding the right, the district's finding the right
100%.
person. Right.
Well, and also too, we saw this when we looked at the persistence data. I think sometimes we in education get lost in the years and what we think that we have something in place and we turn out that we don't, or we did and we didn't. And it isn't that folks are being malicious in many cases, it's just that things get lost. And so this is a way for us to make sure that things don't get lost.
Excellent. I do have a question on the first one. So the ALA Applied Technology, they are asking for aircraft mechanic. Is my mic's not on, I'm sorry. Is that better? So my question, I'll repeat it, is for the first school, ALA Applied Technology, they're asking for aircraft mechanic and air transportation. And my question is why? That seems like it's very close to the Power Campus and our aviation program, and that seems like that's going to be a very expensive program when there's already one built up and so close.
So if you recall, we accepted ALA, was it last year? Was their first year?
It was our first year, yeah.
Yeah, last year, so it was the year prior that you accepted them into the CTED, and last year was their first year. And they had these programs in existence when we accepted them. So you approved these programs to run last year. So that's why they're in this bucket. It doesn't mean you can make whatever decision you want to make, but I just wanted to be sure you knew that you approved the school last year with the existing programs that they were running. This happens to be two of the programs they were running. The reason they're in this bucket is because they have been around even prior to last year's approval. They've been offering these programs because some of these are 3-year programs, but they have had students in the pipeline prior to that, so they should be offering the entire course program sequence. So that's why they're in this bucket.
And in some ways, it's similar to when we have our traditional districts that have, as an example, culinary or welding. And the board historically, not that you're obligated to do that, but has historically said, we're not going to go back and unpack what you had. We're going to make sure that we have honest conversations about moving forward, what you're going to have. And so when ALA joined the CTED, it was no different than a sending district, a partnering district, having some of these existing programs that were anchor programs for their organization when they joined the EVIT CTED.
Okay, in that manner, I'm glad you brought that up because these are duplicative classes, correct?
Yes.
So I guess in the spirit of that relationship that we have, that we agreed that they could keep the things that they had.
Correct.
That makes sense. How long do we give that grace period, though? I mean, if it's been, what, 1 year or 2 years?
So I think if they don't have the sequence completed, then the grace ends this year, right?
Okay.
I think as we start talking long-term, I don't, if we engage in other partners joining the C10 and you would like a condition of that partnership to not be, to include duplicative programs, that would be a mark different than the path we have chosen in previous years, but we could do that. And also, I think that we inherently, you all always have the obligation, the duty to look at outcomes. And so potentially, both central and satellite, the outcome becomes part of that conversation as well.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, no further discussion? Please call the vote.
Acclamation or? Acclamation. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I oppose.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item H, CTED satellite programs, new program approvals. Dr. Doolin?
Okay,
I'm
so.
sorry, can you get a
Motion, sorry,
motion?
motion.
Oh,
You
sorry.
think I'd get it?
I almost jumped ahead.
I did too. Is there a motion to approve item H, satellite programs, new program approvals?
Move the approval of items 8H on the agenda, new program approvals.
Is there a second?
I second. Oh,
Thank you. Okay, now discussion.
Now my question, technology device maintenance, what is that?
Thank you.
What is it?
Yeah,
It's a program.
what is it about? I mean, I don't
Yeah, sure.
understand
Fixing
how
your
it's
iPhone.
different.
So we happen to have this program here at EVIT, and Mr. Howell happens to be very knowledgeable of tech device maintenance.
I used to be the director over technology device maintenance. So this program involves taking in computer components, building them, building a computer, refurbishing a computer, rebuilding hard drives, stuff like that.
So,
things like
got
that.
it.
Madam
If you're
President,
familiar with our Strut program,
Yeah,
in which
I
we bring in,
understand.
yep, that program partners with Strut to refurbish computers and get them to
I want to
what
be
that's
clear,
what-
I don't know that it partners with Strut at ALA. But our program, that was what EVIT's program is, but that's,
That's what they said,
they're taking they're doing a tech device maintenance program that
With-
meets
with
the
computers.
standards set forth by ADE.
okay. What's the automation in robotics in the Chandler district?
In Chandler? So that is one of their new programs that came through. They're doing the automation and robotics, as well as the Chandler High, the drone. You saw those lopes
Yeah.
when they came through?
I think, Madam President, members of the governing board, and again, you all, it's a new year, but just in my mind, and I might be wrong, that, we've gone down the road the last couple of years of kind of wrestling with what this is, new programs are. And I think, at one point in time, the board took the position, rightfully so, that not to have any duplicative programs. But then the board came back later and said, well, in some cases, it does kind of make sense, because even though it's duplicative, it might make sense to have that at that central level, right? What you'll see on these programs are programs that are either non-duplicative. So, for example, the Chandler program doesn't duplicate or isn't competing with any of ours, or they're programs that just seem to make sense at the satellite level. That was last year's kind of landing spot, that it just seemed to make sense. And so all of the programs you see here are exactly those kinds of programs. You'll see on the next bucket some programs that maybe aren't exactly like that, which you still have the ability to approve or not. But in this bucket, it's really the programs, even though they're new, that are consistent with what you have approved the past 2 years.
So, Dr. Doolin, or maybe Mr. Howell, I had questions on marketing. I know what marketing is, but my question on marketing and digital communications, which, could I get some more clarification on digital communications? And then I want to lump them together and have a question on that. So what exactly is digital
So marketing and
communications?
digital communications are not programs that we offer here at EVIT.
Okay.
Neither of those programs are ones that we offer on our campus. They are typically ones that are offered on the satellite campuses because they're easy, I would say, an easier way to institute on a home high school campus, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Lots of them do marketing projects. They have student stores, or they do parts in the bookstore, those types of things. They have a marketing class where they'll have a goal where they come up with a product and then they sell it within the school. They have competitions that way. We do not have a marketing program here. That doesn't mean we don't teach standards in marketing, but the marketing is embedded into other programs. So that is one that you will see if you go back to the ones you approved in other programs earlier, that big chunk, there was several marketing programs in there, as well as digital communications. I would love to tell you I'm an expert on digital communications. I am not. Again, that is a program that we do not offer here at the main campus or the CTED Central Campus. It is one that we do see offered quite frequently at many of the other satellite programs, and as you go back, you'll see that again in that first bucket that you approved. There are multiple schools that have the digital communication.
Thank you. So I guess my next question is what do that and like stagecraft, what certifications do those lead to?
It varies. There are certifications set for ADE. So when we went through the process, they have to meet certain requirements with ADE. There's a certification list on ADE's website, and they usually meet one of those certifications that are on the website that would make them statutorily being able to be approved for that program. Not all programs offer the exact same certification, and that's one of the things as a CTED group when we get together and we meet that we're looking at is there certain ones that we can say all programs offer, or is this program doing this certification? 100% throughout all of these programs, not every school offers the exact same certification, but they do by statute have to offer one of the approved certifications by ADE. And then if you will remember, we also have the rubric that's coming to you on certifications, so you'll get more information as we move forward. We're really diving into what the certifications are and what is being offered in each program, and that will be presented to you, I believe, I would have to have the schedule in front of me, but I believe it's in a couple months you'll get that information of every single program and the certifications that are being offered.
So really hold off on that discussion until then, just because, culinary, electrical, cosmetology, they have their licenses, like their workforce ready type of thing, they can move on. And these ones, in my mind, seem more as electives, and that might not be accurate, and I don't want to throw these schools under the bus, but I'm looking at how are we creating workforce-ready students, or does this dovetail into another thing where they can then have a certificate or a license and ready to go in the workforce?
Part of the requirement, and we can bring you back that information if you would like, because part of the process that they fill out when they're putting these programs forward is what is the certificate you're offering, what is the certification their certificate you're offering, how does it relate to workforce development? They answer questions about where does this person go to work, what is the jobs that this will get them. They do answer that in part of the rubric, so when you see that yes mark, we have already looked at that and they have answered that question. Moving forward, we could get you that information, and if you wanted to table this for a minute, I could ask Tammy to get it on those specific programs, and I could read to you what they wrote if you were interested. Because we do have it.
I might be the only one, but
Well, and I think, Madam President, I think you're asking the right questions, to be honest with you, and I think part of what we're wrestling with as a CTED, and it's not just at the Satellite, it's also programs we have here at the Central Campus. There are certifications that, quote, meet the requirement by statute. There are certifications within industries that are higher leveled, but there are some industries that the certification really isn't the currency. It's a portfolio of work that the student does. And so part of what we're saying is can we shift towards, in certain programs, there's a portfolio of work that the student is able to demonstrate that he or she carries with themselves as collateral into the next phase of their life that's as meaningful of a currency as a certification that checks a box but really doesn't move the needle. So I think you're asking the right questions. I think the answer to your question, though, is not a simple answer, and I don't know that we can answer it tonight in a way that's going to be sufficient. I think it's a longer-term discussion, but it's the right questions to be asking, in my opinion.
you know what, I'm okay with doing that conversation later. I know it's very in-depth, and it's going to bring in a whole bunch of other things that we want to talk about. So unless everybody else feels the same way.
Madam Chairman, is that something that we could schedule for
I
us?
definitely want it.
100%.
I would love to have that, really love to have that. Because I know there's some that where like you get an OSHA 10, which is, I mean, we could go online and get that tonight.
Right.
It's nothing exciting and.
And I think to our faculty and staff, and I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Dillon, to our partnering districts, there's an awareness of that. And so we're all looking for ways to make the time, the currency meaningful. And that's where this idea of a portfolio is. Can a student have a portfolio of work that they've demonstrated that their future employer is probably going to be more interested in seeing what they can do versus a certification that maybe in and of itself isn't as rigorous to get them the job or get them a better offering in that job. So it's a great conversation.
On that, I do want to say that one of the greatest examples I can give you is I'm going to get the school wrong, but I believe it's in Gilbert. And they have a cabinet-making program.
It's Highland, my son did
Highland,
that one.
okay.
He still loves that teacher.
It is an amazing program, and if you go in there
I
and you
love that
see what
teacher.
they do, I mean, yes, the certification might be OSHA 10, but their portfolio option would be,
Hands down.
hands down, it would blow us
I
away.
have a gorgeous kitchen table my son made in
100%.
that class. It's
So,
incredible.
I mean, so that's where we're working with our CTE directors and our partners of what can that look like so that you will have a better understanding and what that can look like and to meet the requirements and what you're looking for.
Yeah, I do think if I can, I do think the conversation around credentials of labor market value is a really good one and a really topical one. So when that does come up for us to look at, I forget what month you said that was going to be, and I know we've looked at it before, but doing kind of an in-depth look aligned to what we're seeing in terms of new approvals, I think would be really valuable as well.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And I think I mean, the Highland example is a perfect example, because when we talk about making sure that we're doing what's changing a kid's life, it's that work that they're able to demonstrate, that sometimes certifications are a measure of it, but in some industries they're not. Being able to demonstrate it through the portfolio is really the currency that shows they're prepared to change their life and the field that they're studying. So it's a great topic, actually.
No, absolutely. At the end of the day, the most important thing is what serves the students, right? And are we good stewards of the taxpayer dollar? And I would never want a program, his name starts with an A, and I feel so bad, like Mr. Alvey or Mr. something,
So
that I
good.
would never want a program like that to kind of get swept under with my zeal of not allowing certain things because they don't fit the criteria. So thank you for that. So let's call the vote on.
No.
Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. Please, keep going. We can discuss.
Yeah, I have a question. I asked about the automation and robotics. Because we talked about it with Chandler Unified School Districts, but Queen Creek and Tempe are also copying the same program. Is there an umbrella
So the automation
cover?
and robotics is not a LOPE, it was the other two, the drones and the semiconductors were the two LOPEs that you received from Chandler. The
Yeah.
automation and robotics is an ADE program that is available.
And that's not offered here at the central campuses.
Not like the ADEs. We do have robotics within our new STEM program, but it's very, very different.
Is that where they go make those things and they eat each other?
Robot wars?
The Autobots, and we have wars, I don't know.
And they get to have wars? I want to go back to high school, they're doing that. It would be fun.
Right. So any other comments? I don't want to cut off anybody else. Okay, let's call the vote, please, Mr. Boyle. By acclamation, yeah.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, so now we are on item I, which is CTED satellite programs, new program approvals with historical denials. Do I have a motion?
Move the approval of item 8I on the agenda, new program
H.
approval.
Aye.
H,
Sorry, I
8I.
thought we were on I.
8I.
Tammy, we did H, didn't we? We did H
Yes.
was the new
Yes,
program
you did.
approvals.
Never
Yes,
mind.
you did.
Ignore me.
You're on aye.
No,
Ignore
it's
me.
good. No,
Ignore me.
we're staying
Okay.
on top of things. This is all said, Mr. Boyle. We're
You
gonna
are
get it
staying on
right.
top of things.
We're gonna
I am
get it
not
right.
staying on top of things. Okay, sorry, everybody.
So I, we have a motion by Mr. Hobson. Do I have a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
Thank you.
Would you repeat the motion, please?
Move the approval of items 8I on the agenda, new program approvals with historical denials.
Got it.
Okay.
So these are programs that we have not approved in the past, and then,
Correct. So the programs before you are programs that you have denied in the past, either with the same school or another school, and they're offering the same program. So if you look back into your backup documents, it would have said underneath that program, the historical denial and the year that you denied it. So that was the information I wanted to bring forward. We pulled those programs out because you have denied like programs in the past.
okay, junior RTC, they've never had, and the instructor is basically, the district's only paying half their deal, and we turned those down last year, I remember. HVAC, we have the program here, and it's an expensive program. I don't understand why they're doing that. Then nursing services, that's definitely one that we teach all the time, whatever. I don't see why we should approve any of these.
I agree that the ROTC gets federal funds, and the other ones are just duplicative that are I think, cost prohibitive as satellites.
So, Madam President, may I make a comment?
Of course.
So, Dr. Doolin and Dr. Wilson, if we understand correctly, the the programs that are on this bucket, HVAC, junior ROTC, and nursing services, we denied them last year. So we are looking to deny them again.
You either denied the exact program at the exact same school last year, or you denied a similar program at another school. I believe the JROTC was not this same school that was denied, it was another school that you denied for the same program.
Yeah, I remember doing the denial for ROTC, JROTC, but I don't remember the school, but yes, absolutely. Those are not CTE programs.
So if you vote yes, you approve them, if you vote no, you disapprove them. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, because the
Okay.
motion was to approve. So, any further discussion? Please call the vote and roll call, please, since this one's a little different.
Dr. Metcalf?
Nay.
Mr. Covington?
Nay.
Mr. Boylston, nay. Mr. Hobson?
Nay.
Mr. Watkins?
Nay.
President McAfee?
Nay.
Motion is not carried.
Denied.
Denied.
Yeah, what is it? What's the terminology?
Motion denied.
Motion not carried.
Failed.
Fails.
Motion fails. Okay. Okay, we're getting to the end, guys. Okay, J, CTED satellite programs, other.
So
Do
this
we
is
have a
the.
motion?
motion
Let's. Is there a motion to
sorry.
approve other?
I'm jumping the gun.
I move to approve item 8J.
Second.
Satellite programs other.
Dr.
Okay,
Dooley.
so you may, I will go through this, but you may want to then separate them because you're gonna have, this is the other category. This means I couldn't make them fit anywhere else. So we have some programs that are a little bit different here that I wanted to explain why they're in this other category. And you have Gilbert Unified School District and Mesa. Mesa is here for all of the same reason, and Gilbert is here for an entirely different reason. So I am gonna do one district at a time, and then you guys can adjust if you wanna adjust your, do whatever you need to do from there. So with Gilbert Unified School District, they are offering a new program at Mesquite High School for interior design and merchandising. The reason I put it in the other category is because ADE is doing away with that program. Last year is this coming year, 25-26, is the last year it can run. Which means if you approve this program, they wouldn't be able to be completers under CTE funding because the ADE is getting rid of the program.
Next year.
They can run it next year, they wouldn't be able to run it the year after. So that's why I put it there, because it does meet the requirement for approval. It meets the requirement statutorily, but it would not be able to be a complete sequence through CTE funding. That wouldn't mean that the district itself couldn't offer it
Without CTE.
without CTE funding. But, so I wanted to make you aware of that. That's a little bit different. You guys can make that decision.
So as it relates to this program in this high school, are we aware of any kids sort of partway through the program?
This is a new program for them.
So they've never opened it before.
Okay.
Correct.
Understand.
Okay.
So they're welcome to do it whether they get funding or not.
That I don't know. All I can give you is that it is a new program, and ADE is only allowing it to be funded for one more year, which is next year. Just so we're clear, we are in the same boat, but our program has been existing. Gilbert also has it at another campus, but it's been existing, so they will be able to finish up kids that took it this year, they can come back and finish up next year.
So it really just doesn't make any sense to approve a program.
Okay,
that's
so I'll let you
like that.
discuss that in a minute. I'm gonna move on to the second one, and then you guys can separate them. This one is interesting. And this one required that we did a lot of digging to kind of figure out what happened. And sometimes I think we need to change our processes down at the state. So back in 2017-18, there was a LOPE that was put in for Red Mountain High School to, I believe it was Red Mountain and maybe Mesa High, to offer biomedical sciences. That LOPE was approved. But at that time, it did not have to go through the EVIT board to be approved. Districts could submit directly to ADE. So when we started going through and as you guys asked and really double checked all the programs to make sure they met everything, we could see that it said the LOPE was approved on Mesa Public Schools website, but it doesn't say it's approved on our website because it never went through you. But back historically, when it was approved, it didn't have to go through you. You follow me so far? So it has been running at Red Mountain High School for many, many years. We've approved it every year. Mesa would like to expand it to, I believe, all of their high schools now, this biomedical sciences with the LOPE. I then contacted ADE to see if I could get a copy of the LOPE so that we would actually have the original application with the curriculum, all of that stuff. They no longer have it. They've purged all the records. So, interestingly enough, though, I was able to contact Marlo. Marlo was able to go back to her binders and has provided me with the original curriculum. So that's where we are. I don't think, with this particular program, it is in a very, very unique situation. It was done the right way in 2017 and 18. I don't believe that it is the school district's, any blame on the school district. They would never know the ADE was going to throw out the LOPE. So this is one that Marlo and I have talked. We are more than happy if we can get it approved for this year for biomedical, that Marlo is more than willing to bring it back next year and we can put it through the LOPE process so it would be approved by both sites. If that makes any sense at all to everything I just said. But this is a weird one that I just wanted to bring to your attention. I wanted to make sure you were aware that the board would never approve it, but back then it wasn't required.
Madam President, I have a couple questions.
That was a lot.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yes, okay.
Totally understand. May I ask the CTE directors here that are here that question?
Dr. Wilson, I believe, would ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would prefer not to have a
Sure.
dialogue back and
All right,
forth.
Dr. Wilson, my question is regarding the new interior design and merchandising program that will be opening as a new program at Mesquite. My concern is if it is going to be closed or sunset through Department of Education, does Gilbert Schools have the funding in which to continue that program on their own so that way the students are not impacted, as well as the teacher?
Mr. Daly?
There's a meeting tomorrow, and the discussion is going to occur. The one thing is, it's not a brand-new program. It's not the first year we're going to offer it next year. We are currently offering it the first year course only this year.
That you paid for out of the M&O?
That we're paying for out of M&O, or we're using priority and Perkins funds to support supplies and things. So that's, and all of our forms for this approval were done before the Department of Education decided to sunset this program. So we know if we can get the funding for this next year, we know we're making a decision on how we're going to progress after that.
So, Madam President, members of the governing board, our IGA requires you to approve or deny a program by the 31st. And so that doesn't preclude you from denying a program and then coming back later and approving. And so there may be the possibility, if you're wanting further information, because I understand the point, Dr. Metcalf, if Gilbert Public Schools is committing to have the funding to continue the program post next year, you may be more inclined to want to approve it for a year because the kids will be able to complete.
Right.
So denying it, but then giving Gilbert the opportunity to come back again, should they agree at this meeting tomorrow to fund it, would not be unacceptable or inappropriate to do, if that makes sense.
It does, makes perfect sense. Okay, thank you. My second question, Dr. Wilson, regarding Mesa Schools and the biomedical science program, or the bioscience program. This is going to be the foundational medical program on the academies, medical academies at the schools.
It will be, that's why it's being offered at all the schools. And I want to make sure I'm clear, this is biomedical sciences.
Right.
That's why the LOPE is biomedical sciences.
Right. And my other question, Dr. Wilson, is on biomedical science. That is going for a CTE credit and an academic science credit towards graduation that Mesa Schools is offering through this program?
So.
An embedded
Marlo, would you like
science program, science credit, Marlo?
We did.
Okay.
Moving forward, we're gonna pull that back. They won't need the science credit for graduation.
Right.
They will be taking other
In the past, it has been used as a science credit.
Okay.
We're under review, and most likely it will be pulled back.
So one more question on that, Dr. Wilson. For Mesa schools in the biomedical science program, when is that date that embedded science credit will be pulled back or anticipated to be pulled back?
So I think there's the embedded credit date pulled back, but correct me if I'm wrong, Counselor, that statutorily, in order to earn the embedded credit, the students have to complete the program. And so, and I'm not saying this wasn't the case at the biomedical, because I don't know for sure, but I think there have been tendencies throughout some programs that the embedded credit was awarded prior to the completion of the program. So one of the possibilities is there being, if it isn't pulled back in time, or the expectation being that if it is awarded, that it's only awarded to students who actually complete the program. And if we were to do that, that's very consistent with what we're wanting in other areas.
Correct. So another question, I'm sorry, Mr. Covington, one more question. Dr. Wilson, for the biomedical science program through Mesa schools and that science credit, that embedded science credit towards graduation being pulled back, what is the process that the district is looking to follow to ensure that those students who receive the embedded science project or science credit have indeed completed the program? So in other words, for example, by error, when I was a CTE director, we would have marketing, and they would be able to get economics credit 1 year. They didn't have to complete the credit. They got both, as long as they passed the class and fulfilled all of the competencies. So my question is, what is the process to make sure that we're not accidentally giving embedded science credit towards graduation?
So I think part of what we'll do is what we have started already, is that when we look at kind of that persistence, we can tell you right now that if we wanted to dig deeper into some of the data, that it would produce some of the information that you're looking for. If you have 150 students in a certain course, and the completion of the course is it's a 3-sequence course, and at 150, the next year 130, and then 15, the third sequence, clearly it was the second course that gave the credit, but it wasn't a completion. We would ask, show us the science credit that was awarded to those students that were in that course. That would be the artifact that we would look for. We would be happy to work with Mesa, because I know Mesa would be happy to work with us, but honestly, on our end, we're going to do a much better job holding accountable what statutorily is required, because ultimately, when we've said this before, you guys are responsible and I'm responsible.
Right. All right, sorry, one more question. Dr. Wilson, for the Mesa Unified School District biomedical science programs, if there is embedded science credit and a CTE credit, are those teachers duly certified in the academic area and the CTE?
I'm going to ask Marlo.
Yes, they would be.
Have to be. I would say that because we pair that program with a science class, the practical arts, the elective, what's being applied for, I would say 99% of the kids who might have had some outliers previously, and then because they're pairing it with their chemistry class, we are encouraging them to take human anatomy and physiology, with that academy, they're trying to align to the health science program here.
Right.
We know that will better prep them to get to those programs here. So I think we'll have a year-ish here where we're going to be pulling that back, but I would say for most of our kids, because it has been embedded in there, yes, the teachers will be certified. And secondly, but the kids really weren't even getting the credit because they were getting that science credit, filling that bucket with their other required science classes.
Okay. One more question, Marlo or Dr. Wilson. For the biomedical science at Mesa Unified School District, if a teacher isn't appropriately or duly certified in science and the CTE area, are you co-teaching? Are they co-teaching that if they need to have a science and a CTE teacher, but you don't get that in one person?
Marlo?
We have not done that. That hasn't been the issue. We've only had the program at one high school since 2017. But moving forward, we're going to be pulling that science credit back, so we wouldn't have to be in that position.
Okay, and sorry, last question. And we still don't have an idea of when that science will be pulled back, because if we've got the duly certified teacher, then our CTE program funding, our satellite funding will be used appropriately.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Sorry, Marlon.
Okay, I've heard, may I have a question, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Covington.
Thank you, Madam President. I've heard two different things about Dr. Wilson said something I don't think was correct, but this is a one semester or a year class, or is there a sequence?
It's a sequence.
It's a sequence of classes.
Okay, what are the sequences? I mean, what are the length of them?
Each one's a year long.
There's 3 years? It's a 3-year program? 2-year? Okay, thank you.
So the example I gave was in a 3-year sequence, but there's a 2-year sequence too, in which we know science credits were given after the end of the first year. They didn't complete the second, so they
Okay,
didn't
so
complete
they
the
need
program.
both.
I'm not saying that, no, that wasn't yours. I'm just saying in the CTED, that's an area that we recognize that we have individuals that are awarding science credits without completing the program. Whether it's a 2-year or 3-year, they finish the program, the numbers significantly drop before the sequence is done, whether it's 2 or 3.
And just so the board is aware, we have met with all of the CTE directors, and that was one of the points of conversation when we saw those drops, was asking them when we do our site visits, we ask, where is the science credit given? Are you giving a science credit? So those are things we've been talking about as Dr. Wilson and I have done the visits for the last 2 years, and it is one of those areas that we're tightening up to make sure we're meeting the requirements in statute.
So they have to take the sequence to get the science credit and
Correct.
CTE credit.
They have to complete the program.
Correct, statutory.
Just hearing something on the news, just a point of interest, is that, to my understanding, the graduates, I don't know, this year and next year, have to pass a test, their test to get out, or have a CTE certificate. So I can see CTE is going to grow like all over the place.
So that's a piece of legislation that is being championed by the Department of Education, in which students would have to show proficiency either on the ACT exam or complete a CTE program and earn an industry certification and or successfully pass the TSA. So to your point, I think that there's a possibility that CTE becomes even more important. And I think one of the things that we always talk about is that, that's a great idea as long as, to Miss our board president's point, as long as it's a certification that carries currency, right? I mean, that, and then that certification conversation rematerializes, because CTE matters on a lot of levels, but if it's going to be a graduation requirement, completing a program and earning an industry certification that carries with that currency really should be the conversation that we need to have.
Does that make sense? So this is really all part of our persistence conversations, correct? And
Part
this
of the
is where we
quality-
follow, all that data goes into the persistence report.
Yep.
So,
I mean,
okay,
the reason why we started with persistence is because if you want more students, you have to have more completing. If you want to get the science credit, you have to complete. If you want to get the industry certification, you have to complete. That's why persistence matters, because you don't get to those points without completing the program.
right. So if I could just go back to Gilbert real quick, and we said we could deny tonight, and then they have a chance to come back. What is that timeframe of when they can come
Well,
back?
there is no, you all have no time frame. But what I would suggest that if I understood correctly from Mr. Daly, they're going to have that conversation tomorrow. So I would expect that they should be able to, within a 2-week period of time, be able to communicate back to us whether or not there's that commitment, so that we could have that on the agenda in our next regular scheduled board meeting. So if you choose to approve it, they can know as they're building out their master schedule.
Okay. Or we could choose to deny it.
Yes, either way.
Either way, okay.
What is the motion? Can you repeat it, please?
I think you have to read
Madam
it.
President, I have a substitute motion.
Absolutely, let's hear it.
I move that we approve that we deny the Gilbert application, and we approve the Mesa application in item 8I on the agenda.
J.
Madam President, I second.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Any discussion on that motion? Okay. Please call the vote, Mr. Boyle. By acclamation, please.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so that gives
Sorry, Mr.
Gilbert
Daly.
time to come back?
Yes. That means that we may take the Gilbert item up at the next board
Yeah,
meeting.
The very next board
100%,
meeting.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Before we move to staff reports, since we're just staying on this, can we ask you, Dr. Wilson, to create a rubric that is explicit on the quality that we're looking for at the programs? Because we want the districts to have a pathway to create these programs and offer these to the students. Is there a rubric or some kind of, a little, that's what a rubric is.
Yeah.
But basically it tells them, this is the quality we're looking for, these are the persistence levels, here's your outline. You want it to get approved? Please follow these things?
So the short answer to that's yes. I think the longer answer is it would be helpful if we worked in collaboration with our partner in districts, right? So Dr. Doolin she meets with them regularly to kind of arc out this kind of what is the criteria you have to meet if you want a new program, a duplicative new program that might be expensive, right? I mean, and so that there is a pathway that everybody's clear and understands. You all are clear and you understand and they're all clear. So that will absolutely be a task that we can get started on in the next bit of time.
I just want total clarity. I want the sending districts to know what we expect and working together so that it works for both of us.
And it'd be really helpful for the board to be
Yes.
looking at that sort of thing as we evaluate what you bring forward.
So yes, this is, just clarification, this is just you're speaking towards for new program approval,
Yes.
correct? Right?
Yes.
So, and that's
Yes.
been
That's
the
different.
area that we've been
Yes.
kind of wrestling with, right? What constitutes, and we've gone from no duplicative, well, some duplicative is okay, but it
Right.
doesn't, and trying to shore that up to have clarity just makes sense.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, and so now we are back to you. Staff reports. Superintendent's report, Dr. Wilson, take it away.
So I had the pleasure, as Dr. Doolin was going through all of the data that she was sharing with you all, kind of tallying up all the different programs. Now, I'm not a math giant, right, but just so, I know Mr. Boyle likes the data, so I'm going to try to do some of that. So roughly, not exactly, but roughly, there were about 462 programs that were asked for approval tonight. Out of that, you all approved roughly about 458-ish. So out of the total programs, you all approved about 99% of all the program requests that came in front of you. Now, again, that's not pure math, so don't hold me with it. But I share that with you sometimes because I think sometimes there is a narrative that flows outside that, EVIT is blocking opportunity and they're not approving programs. And that's true because historically that never happened. But when you sit there and you say 99% of the programs, 468 and 450 whatever, I think it would be hard pressed for folks to say that you're not approving programs, that you're blocking progress, blocking opportunity. I think you have the right to make sure that the programs you approve, you can defend. That's your job as an elected official to be on EVIT's governing board. And so I appreciate your patience. I hope that this process was a little bit more efficient and effective this time than years past, and certainly we'll tweak it. But I do think it's important that you all recognize that by far you are approving more than what I think people realize that come before you. So thank you for that.
Madam President, may I make a statement?
Yes, please.
Thank you for the intense organization and reorganization of this. It has made it streamlined and clear, and our constituents can see where we're going. I apologize, Peter.
Now Tammy and I need a vacation.
And if I could hop in, we're tracking to finish 45 minutes earlier tonight than we did at this meeting last year.
Right there, look at that. Well, I think it's
that's due to
straight
the new
up.
president.
Well, you know what? I could talk longer
Organization.
if you want.
That's what I thought.
Not that that's the priority, but I think it does speak to the efficiency of the
We're not
process.
done
So
yet.
thank you, everybody.
No, you put in a lot of work, and I don't think Tammy gets enough credit. I
Yes.
just want to thank Tammy for just being an amazing board secretary. Thank you so much.
Every 2 weeks, we get a massive
Oh.
amount of material, expertly organized and just.
Really well.
And just really incredible.
Never
Thank you,
complains, stays late, always just gets it done. I agree, Dr. Ms. McAfee, she is actually never gets the recognition that she deserves.
So, thank you,
Thank
Tammy.
you, Tammy.
We all appreciate you. Okay, closing items. I would like to encourage that we move these together, we combine them.
A and B.
Yes.
Well, I
we
have a
can do it.
question.
I think at calendars,
We can move them. The motion is to approve both, and then we can discuss and
Okay.
adjourn at the same time. Does that work?
okay, I'll make that motion. Calendar and A and B,
Okay.
I
combined
second.
as one.
Okay, discussion, calendar. Anything want to be on the agenda? When's our next meeting?
Just a question about the immigration raids that are taking place. I'd like to either we can discuss it or we can put it on the agenda. I don't know quite where we need to go with this is, what are we doing as EVIT to protect our adult students and our existing students if something like that should occur?
That's a fair question. What I would ask is that we put that on the agenda as a discussion item, just because it wasn't agendized tonight, and we can come back to you and have that conversation. I think that's a fair topic to raise. I think also on the agenda, we're going to have a curriculum as it relates to our gen ed courses. We're going to have a Hope Tech update on the strategic plan. You guys will be presented with the school crisis safety plan, and then we're going to have the next round of the quality indicator data. Here pretty soon, we're going to start talking about contracts for next year and what that looks like. And so there's some things that we're already starting to slot that are going to have to be taken care of and at least addressed in the next several board meetings, but we'll add that to the next agenda as well, so we're on the same page.
Excellent. Anything else? Anyone want to bookmark anything for future agendas? Okay, so
Does Mr. Covington get credit for this motion?
Yes, I do.
he gets credit for this motion. And then, Mr. Boyle, will you call the vote by
You
acclamation?
don't.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.